Hey everybody, this is Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and in today's video we're going to be continuing to talk about some of the LCSs that I stopped at for Free Comic Book Day and show you off some of the books I picked up that day and over the course of the last month that I've been picking up other things from these particular LCSs. And in this video we're going to be talking about two different shops. We're going to be talking about Beyond Comics out in Frederick and a shop that I haven't mentioned before, but it's actually the closest shop to my house. I could walk to it. It's so close. It is called Comics to Astonish. And both of them I stopped on Free Comic Book Day, and one of them had sales, the other one didn't, but they had really good things. Let's start with Comics to Astonish, the one right by the house. Now, I don't go to the shop a lot. It's more about the selection of things that they've got there. They do have new comic books every week, but it's a very small shop, and I tend to go down to Third Eye Comics in Annapolis. It's a little bit more of a drive. It's a lot more of a drive, but they have a lot more of the variants that you may or may not want, a bigger selection of books that they get. So I tend to go to that shop a lot more, and I save Comics to Astonish for smaller things that I might be looking for. Just the way it is. So anyway, for Free Comic Book Day, their rules were that they had a bunch of books. They had I remember you go into the shop. It's a very rectangular shop, very thin. So you kind of had to line up, and they had all the new books set on the counter just as you go up to the register, which was a great idea in terms of getting you to get in line for the free comic books. But it didn't do a lot for you to go around the shop and do some shopping, because by the time you go through the line, you're at the register and you're like, well, now I want to go shop, but now I have to stand in line again. So I ended up standing in line, getting the books I wanted, and then I went back and they had a 10% off sale, so I took advantage of that. And stood in line again. But what I ended up getting, let's go through the books that I picked up for Free Comic Book Day. So they had a limit of 5 per person and no dupes. So I picked up another copy of Judgment Day and Dark Crisis, Spider-Man Venom. These are the 3 books that probably I was most interested in, being a big Marvel fan. And, I love DC, but not quite as much. But anytime they do something with Crisis, you kind of want to jump in on it. I did get Marvel Voices, because sometimes this one has a surprising value. Sometimes these books are the ones that they'll have a character in it that makes their surprise first appearance and nobody knows it or cares at the time, but 3 years later a Disney Plus show comes out and all of a sudden you got to get this book. And then for my 5th book, I ended up picking up another copy of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's homage to the very first issue. So those were the 5 I picked up. I did pick off of the stand one of the new Captain Carter #2s, and I did this because it wasn't any spec value, I don't think, on this at this point, but I love this cover. That art's great. Seriously, you can see Haley Atwell really in that artwork right there. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So we've got those. And then I ended up picking up also a copy of Hulk #6. This is the first appearance of Titan. Excuse me, my monitor is about ready to go to sleep there. And I picked up a first issue of Twig #1, just a regular cover. This is a Peach Momoko cover, and this is one of those ones that if I can get Scotty Young to sign this, and he's going to be here in the area in probably about a week or 2 down at Third Eye Comics in Annapolis for a signing. And if I can get him to sign this is a book I'll hold on to and hopefully get a chance to get Peach Momoko on it eventually. Unfortunately, MegaCon's this weekend, and I know she's there. I believe she's there, and that I had sent in books to have her sign, but you had to have all those books in a lot earlier. So maybe that means some way down the road, hopefully in Baltimore or Charlotte or something like that, she'll make an appearance on one of these cons, and I'll have a chance to get this signed as well. If I do get Scotty Young to sign that, and then they also had like I said, a 10% off sale. This is Comics to Astonish I'm talking about. And I'm going through the back issues and looking on the wall and see if there's anything that piques my interest. And one of the things that's interesting about some of their back issues is that they do a color-coded dot system, so you don't have just random prices on every single issue. You have these $5 books, $10 books, $15 books, so forth and so on. You just have to go by a color code system. And so even with a 10% coupon, it actually still works out pretty good. But you're going to recognize a lot of these books. You've seen me pick these up before, but here we go again. I picked up Spider-Man 259, The Origin of Mary Jane. 260 and 261. Let me see if I can hold them apart there for a sec. Of course, this is early Hobgoblin. You've got Ron Friend's artwork, just absolutely lovely, lovely artwork. I always loved his art from those issues at that time, and I know these are all have great values if you can get those high grades. You watched my unboxing of CGC from a couple boxes ago. You know that I got 9.8s, or at least 9.8 on 259 right there. I mean, that right there, just, I mean, you're not going to retire on one book, but I tell you that right there has some really great value. I picked up another copy of G.I. Joe 53. This is the famous border that they did with characters from every series that Marvel was producing. They spotlighted a character, and I had just bought this at Cards, Comics, and Collectibles on their Easter sale, and I think I ended up just submitting it to CGC. So I was interested. I knew what the value in this book is if you can get a high grade, so I went ahead and for $15 I picked up another copy of that. And then I picked up two $25 books, and $25 is about the max I would want to pay on these, but as I said, 10% off of both of them knocked it down a little bit. But here's a book you'll recognize that I just done that same Spider-Man unboxing a couple videos ago. I got 2 9/8s on that issue right there. This is a key book for the Venom origin. This is when we find out that the suit is alive, and it's it's the first, he gets rid of it with the help of Reed Richards, and of course we know the story that he eventually finds Eddie Brock and so forth and so on, and we have Venom. So that one looked really nice, and I'm excited about getting that into the press. And here's another one that's not going to surprise anybody else. You know how much I love X-Men 213. 212 and 213 are some of my favorite issues. Just an absolute gorgeous. The Alan Davis artwork with the classic Wolverine Sabretooth battle, just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm excited about getting all of these into press. I bought all of these as speculation books that I will clean and press. I will submit these to CGC. I'm working on trying to get a 9.8 out of this one right here. It is a book that I want to have for my PC as that grade. So it's a continuing journey. So I will continue picking that book up. And if I get lower grades, I will go ahead and probably sell every one of those to eventually get that 9.8 that I can hold on to. So that's the way I do that. All right, so that was Cards, Comics, and Collectibles. I'm sorry, Comics to Astonish in Columbia, Maryland. Now, the other shop was on my travels that day. When I was heading to West Virginia, I stopped off in Frederick, Maryland, and I stopped at Beyond Comics. And let me thumb through this real quick, and I'll show you. They too had a limited number of free comic books. And I picked up just, I'm being repetitive here. I've got Judgment Day, Dark Crisis, and Spider-Man Venom, and Voices. They did not have a big selection of free comic books. They still had a table there. So those were the ones I picked up for the free. But I love going there because you never know what's still going to be on their recent comic book, on their stands and everything. And let's just go through it. So I ended up finding 2 copies of the regular cover to Captain Carter #1. This right here is just exploded ever since the What If series and with the new Doctor Strange film. So I'll pick these up every day right now for cover price. And I ended up picking up the Winter Soldier variant of Captain Carter #1 and the other one for Women's History Month here. So another copy of that. You just saw that, and I think I picked that up at Cards, Comics, and Collectibles as well. So I picked those up. And I picked up a second printing of Batman Beyond the White Knight I believe this is #1. The first print has really just exploded with that. But I went ahead and picked up a second print because sometimes these second prints are such a limited printing that you never know that this might end up being more valuable. But not going to hurt to have it in the collection. And then I picked up 2 copies of the regular cover to The Me You Love in the Dark. And I was real happy to find this because I had just talked about the Scotty Young signing, getting Twig #1. But this is the one that I kind of want to get signed. And I've got this, I think I've got it graded, but I also have got the Jenny Frison cover variants to this too. Again, they're graded, and I'm not breaking it out just to have him sign it at this point. So I was happy to find new copies of this still on the stand. And then I started going through the back issues and found some pretty good prices on some of these things. This is Captain Carter #1. This is the design variant. I'm not a big fan of these design variants. I guess it would depend on the artwork. You know, if John Byrne was doing this, this would be just fantastic. But it's not John Byrne. So I reference that only because you go back to the old Marvel Universe A through Z books, and he did a lot of that artwork. Just absolutely gorgeous. And then I picked up another copy of Aliens #1. This is the second volume. #1, if you can get that in a high grade, is actually pretty valuable. That's a complete spec book. Actually, all of these are, to some degree. Oh, and I didn't realize I'd already picked up another Twig #1. This was in their variant boxes, but this was a virgin cover. I'm not sure who did the cover to this one, but I picked that one up. Being a virgin, no trade dress up here. It'll be nice to get that signed. So that one is definitely one I targeted for the signing. And then I went through their back issue bins, because those right there were in the variant boxes that are very recent, and they have those on right by the countertop, by the register. So, and they're always having more books. And there's one more at the end I went through in the same box and pulled out, and I'll show you that one at the end. But I started going through their regular back issues, and I ended up going and finding a nice run of some, looks like from pretty high grade, Marvel Comics Presents. This is the Weapon X program, and Barry Windsor Smith artwork and all of these. None of these are the valuable issues, but if you can get high grades on all of those, they are. These are nice 9.8s if you can get that grade, and that's what I'm shooting for in all of these. But I didn't pay more than, I think, $5 or $6 on any of these, so it wasn't a big investment. But as I said, I'm looking at these, and I put some of them back that had definitely very visible spine ticks. These didn't have anything on the cover. Every one of these look really good, but there's a, what was this? This was, 81, 82, 83, and 84. So I know I've got an 84 back, and I think I've got a 9.6 on that, and you would think that would be really, really still have some value, but it really drops down. It's kind of disappointing that the only real book in that you can get a less than a 9.8 and still have some return on investment worth anything is 72. But you would think that even with this one, this is the final issue, and it's a beautiful spread cover on the back. You see the whole thing is Wolverine. It's the other half of Wolverine, but just some beautiful artwork. You would think that some of these other issues would have some more value, but I guess the way the story is told, you don't have a lot of first appearances. It's just it's a story, one story, and you don't have, every issue doesn't have a big reveal and a big first appearance of some character and everything. So the spec, I guess, isn't there for that reason. All right, and then the last book I picked up, and it's going to be hard for you to see this, you just have to take my word for it, but it's a book that I had lost out on at an auction at Third Eye Comics, and I remember what I bid on that at the time, and I lost that bid by $5 at the last second. I thought my bid was good, and then right there, somebody sniped in at the last second and put in a slightly higher bid. But this, you'll never be able to see. Oh, yeah, look at that. You can see it. This is Something's Killing Children, number 21. This is the Ashcan version. And it is, I spent a little bit of money on this one. But I saw the value of this, and I know what the value is of a 9.8 on something like this. So I completely bought this to send in the CGC. And after taking it out and looking at it, I'm going, this is a 9.8 all day long. I may not even have to clean and press it. It is absolutely gorgeous. So I found this is great value right there. You find these books, yeah, that's fine. You invest a lot of money into it. But you know what? There's going to be a big return on a book like this. So real happy to have that. And yeah, that was it. So those are my two shops in this video. We got Comics to Astonish in Columbia, Maryland. We have Beyond Comics in Frederick, Maryland. Check those guys out on your travels. Be sure to check them out. I'll leave links in the description so you can visit their websites and find out their store address and their location and everything. But these are great shops. I hope you will take time on your travels and visit them and support them. Support small business, support our comic shops so they stay active and everything. It's great. This is all part of the hobby, and they are part of this, and we need to support them as we can. So that's it for today, guys.